Good morning and assalamu alaikum champs. So we'll be starting with Java JSP class 3 today, right? And before we start, we'll have the recap of previous class, right? So in previous lectures, we learned a few things, including the declarations, the scriptlets, and also the expressions. And so far we were able to develop a non-object oriented model of JSP page, JSP login page rather, right? So we'll try and do few changes right here, but before I carry on, let me finish with few more things, right? So we had another directive here known as page directive, right? And what else can we use in page directive? So we'll have to see that, right? And so we have now directives, right? So what are the directives in JSP or Java server pages? And to start with directives, the first directive that's before you guys is page directive, right? So this page directive defines the content of the page and encoding of the page, and this is the way your browser reads your HTML pages. And other directives we have, in directives we have include directive. So let me, for example, let me make a folder known as web pages. So what we have done, I have been able to create a new folder known as web pages. Okay, we'll have to create a folder here in web pages, or we'll create let's say about views. Okay, so let's keep the folder name as views. So after we go inside views, I will go and create a new JSP page inside the folder views, and I'll call this as menu bar. Alright, so now let me delete everything. So this is a blank JSP page. So now I want something to be repeated, or I want to include something in each and every page. Right, so I'll create another folder right here, and I will call this folder, as include. So I'll say INC. INC stands for include. So I'll create another JSP file here. So I'll say login. Okay, so this is again I'll delete everything in the login page, and I'll delete everything in the menu page. So so far we have been able to do create a folder INC, create a folder views, and have two blank JSP pages in both the folders, right? Inside Inc we have login.jsp, and inside views we have menubar.jsp. So for example, I want this to be included in every page. So I'll say something like this. I'll go with a paragraph. I'll say, hey there, how are you? Right, so I'll say may God bless you, and then I'll show you after we create the platform how to use this page, or how to use menu bar actually work as the main navigation for your web page, right? So now I'll say include, and I'll give the file address, and I'll say go to views and include menu bar.jsp. So now let's see the impact of the same in the front end, right? And now you can see right here, I'll have to get rid of these directives here. Alright, so now you can see the directive has started working, right? So hey there, how are you? May God bless you. So what you have been able to do is include whatever contents this page menubar.jsp has. You have been able to include them directly to your web page, which is index.jsp. And another thing that we are going to do today, let me copy all. Alright, so let me copy full code here, right? The code we wrote yesterday. Okay, we are able to write these lines of code. So I'll take all the Java code inside login.jsp. Now you can see this contains my isValid function. Now this page contains my isAuthentic function, and the page also contains login function, which is doing nothing but encapsulating right? And calling is valid and is authentic for me. And I have also included if the method is post, right? Take the username and password, sorry, and login request.get parameter txt username and password. So because our login function accepts two parameters, as you're already aware of, login function accepts one parameter as string username. So that's what we are passing here. String username, which is request.get parameter txt username. It's an HTML element that we are calling, and also the password, which is again an HTML element we are calling. So let me close these things. So now this login.jsp has all the Java code or all the source code which does not have anything or any link with as that of the user interface of my page. So all I do right here, I will simply type include file which is inc login.jsp, right? And you can see the software behaving in the same manner. You can see, please write your username and password. Where is this coming from? It's actually coming from login.jsp, right? So if I write wrong username and password, I get incorrect username and password. Where is it coming from? It's again coming from this login.jsp. So what we have been able to do, we have been able to create a directive. Include is a directive, page is a directive, and we are having third directive as well, which is taglib. So we are having three directives. Taglib we are going to understand when we start struts framework. So we'll be understanding what taglib actually is. But what we have been able to learn so far is directives. And how many directives did we go through? We went through three directives. Okay, one is the page directive, and another is the includes directive, and third one is the taglib directive, right? So I'll just try and show you prefix is equivalent to x, URI is equivalent to struts-tags. So it's just a sample that I'm going to show you, or I'm showing you, because we have no taglib knowledge as of now, but in the concurrent classes as we go on and complete our learning, maybe 50 to 60% JSP learnings, and then we'll be able to get what exactly taglib is. But for you at this time, just to remember taglib would be quite sufficient, right? And let me start with this. This is your file that we have been making from last two classes, right? So once the file is complete, I can upload so that you can download it from the given URL. Okay, so let's have the recap. We learned scriptlets so far, and in scriptlets, right, so I gave you an example of scriptlets. So these are scriptlets, and what we do, we write code here, or we call functions here. For example, if we have function login l equals new login, right? And second thing we learned was declarations, and in declarations we have to put this exclamatory mark in front. And I said, what do we do in declarations? I declared public void login, which was taking two parameters, string username and string password, right? So these are two different things that we learned. So this is declarations, these are scriptlets, and we also learned expressions. What are expressions? Expressions contains this is equivalent to sign, which is nothing but a short form for out.println. And always remember that expressions do not contain or cannot contain more than one statement. It can contain only one statement, and these expressions are not meant to be terminated. We cannot terminate expressions. All right, so we also did something like this. So message, so we are printing the message right here. So this is I hope I've shown and giving you ample time to understand, and I've been repeating these things because I know that students tend to forget these things, right? So hammering the same thing again and again will make you guys remember this forever, right? Or for the rest of your lives, right? And the third thing we learned was declarations and directives. And what are directives in JSP? So we had number one, page directive. Number second, I showed you include, and number third was tag lib, right? So page directive in front of you, all right? Okay. So it's also used to import, let's say about if I use date function here. Let me show you. If I use date function here, right? So I can say out dot print, right, new date. So that is java.util.date. So we'll have to import this java.util.date. Now you can see this java.util.date. Let me first go ahead and close this because it's going to cause an error. Alright, so let me show you this. What we have done, we have been able to print date, which is the date today, perhaps. Yeah, it's March 26th and 55 a.m. and the year is 2020. But that's not the point. The point here is that we have used page directive to import java.util.date, and we have used page directive to import java.io.printvwriter as well, right? So we cannot import it because now even if we don't import it, it will work. But if I don't import date, so it is going to throw an error, right? So it will throw an error that the date is not understood, right? So that's why date has to be imported, and we import date in the page directive. Now if I take, because we already have a page directive, if I copy and paste it here, right? So now what are we doing here? We are using a single page directive for multiple things. We have used the same page directive to define the content type of the following page, and also we have imported java.util.date using the same page. Now if I go and refresh, you'll see the page doing the same thing again. Alright, so this is page directive for you. And second was tag lib directive. Okay, so let me show you this. So these are all three directives. Alright, now the page directive is not only meant for defining the content type of the page, right? So it has many jobs that you are going to learn in concurrent classes, right? And this is include here, and we have tag lib right here. I hope you have understood, right? Scriplets, declarations, expressions, directives is over, right? And the third thing, which was in the first file, was implicit objects. Implicit objects in JSP. Now what do you mean by implicit objects, right? The objects that we do not have to create, or we do not create, right? Are the objects which are readily and ready-made for us, which are readily available for us. Is that clear? Right, so let me make you understand about those implicit objects which are readily available in Java. First was request. I can say we already use request, right? We have already used request.get parameter. And now if you remember, in servlets the request object is not readily available. We'll have to call the request, which is actually HTTP request, but here we are going to call it directly. That means it's an implicit object and it is readily available in Java. Alright, so request is an implicit object which is readily available. So I'll write the description also here. So this is the HTTP servlet request. HTTP servlet request object associated with the request. Right, beta? Alright, so that's very good. You guys are champs, right? So you understand everything like pro. Okay, the second, if there is request, there is response. So I'll copy paste, and because you know that this response is also associated with response, so it's the HTTP response object, object, sorry. So it's the HTTP servlet response object associated with the response, right, to the client. So I'll write it down. It's associated with the response back to client. Okay. So these are a few important things. Now, why are they implicit? Because we don't create them explicitly. If you see servlets, in servlets, the objects are defined or they are initialized by overriding either doGet or doPost. Okay? Clear? Alright, so let's carry on with out. Right? So out is a different thing right here. Because once we do out, okay, let me do it here. We already did out.println new date. Now if I pass mouse over this out, right, and if you see, it's basically JSP writer out. Now see this here, it is JSP writer out. So it's not associated with as that of print writer, which is only in servlet. So here, to write anything or to print anything out in JSP, we do not use print writer but JSP writer. And again, it's implicit. If you remember, in servlets we had to create print writer. We had to do this print writer out is equivalent to response dot get writer, and we had to implicitly, not implicitly but explicitly create the object of out, and then we used to have out.println, which is not the case in JSP because out is readily available, it's implicitly available, right? So out is basically, so I'll just write it down here. Alright, so let me show you this here. Okay, it is the object of print writer, right? Is it the print writer object? Row. It is the JSP writer object, right? JSP writer object associated with the response to the client. So we use out to give response back to client. So second is SESSION, session. So now if you remember in servlets, right, what we used to do is we used to create an object, or we create an object using servlets, right? So those who are not familiar with servlets, it's not necessary to know servlets because your JSP page, before the response is given back to the client, gets completely converted to servlets. So it's basically sent as a servlet to Apache, and then Apache renders and gives output back to the browser. So even if you're not familiar with servlets, yet you can do many things using JSP. Yet you can develop applications using JSP. But yeah, learning servlets part will give you an extra edge, and you can do many things, right? Okay. So the third one is session. Now you can see that session is HTTP session. Session S is equivalent, or we can say, I'll say session dot set attribute. So I can directly say session dot set attribute, the key and the value, right? And if I pass the mouse over and press the control key, you can see it's associated with HTTP session. Now if you remember in servlets, what we do, or even if you don't remember, in servlets what we do is we create HTTP session is equivalent to response.get session. So sorry, not response, request, request dot get session, and then we say session dot set attribute. So then we say session dot set attribute this and this. Now in servlets we used to create the object of the session explicitly, which is not the case here, because session is readily available. We can directly call session because the object has been given us to us implicitly, right? But what is session associated with? So I'll write it down here for you. Session, okay. So I will say this is what? This is the HTTP session object, okay, associated with the, what is it associated with? Request or response? Come on, I'm giving you 3 seconds to answer. Request or response? What is HTTP session associated with? I need this inside the comments section. Alright, associated with the dash. So answer in the comment section. Right, so from today onwards I'll have to see that you're getting things right or not, and for that I'll have to play my tricks. So abide by and expedite and do as I say, right, because that's going to help me in create more valuable content for you guys, right? So the more interest you show, the more high quality and advanced content I'll be able to share to you guys, right? Please answer this in the comment section, right? So the answer is already given by me, but still I want to see how attentive you are, how much attention you are showing in the class, and are you getting things exactly or not, okay? And third is application. So application will be shown later, config will be shown later, page context will be shown later, exception will be shown later. So these are the implicit objects available in JSP. So total 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now we have total 9. Request response out is here, session is here, application is here, config page context is here, and page. Now what page is? Basically it is this. Whenever we write this, we write page. So I'll show you this later on, right? But as I say, write down the answer in the comment section. What you need to do, you need not to watch the complete video. Pause the video and answer my question in the comments section, okay? Oh, fine, I get it. Alright, so let's carry on. Implicit objects in JSP. Now you are familiar with the word implicit, right? So you're already familiar with this. Means something that has been given by the compiler or by the, okay, it's basically gone too far, right? By the programming language itself, or by any class or any framework, right, is something that we do not create, or we do not have to create an object of. So that is readily available, right? Alright, so this part is done. Alright, so let me define the request object a bit here. So this request object is an instance of JavaX servlet.http.http.servlet request. I repeat, instance of javax.servlet.http.http servlet request, and response javax.servlet.http.http servlet response. Out javax.servlet.jsp.jsp writer. I repeat, javax.servlet.jsp.jsp writer. Session javax, okay, tell me, javax servlet dot, yes, http session, so and so on, right? So I hope you have understood the same. Okay, now we're using friendly URLs. Friendly URLs, or we can say SEO, search engine optimization, friendly URLs in JSP. We know that we, instead of typing dot, we were not using this dot JSP. If I type index.jsp, I get this index.jsp. Now what is the name? Okay, let me see the name here. Login.jsp, index.jsp is already here in, you can see in the web page. Yeah, index.jsp. So why are we getting this error? Struts dash tags not found. Yeah, we know that we have used this because we're not using struts framework here, so it's meant to throw an error. So I'll just get rid of this session as well and go back to the page. Now you can see I'm typing this index.jsp, which means that I'm using .jsp as an extension right here. And in servlets, we used to type friendly URLs like login, right, like register. So what if I want to do same using same in JSP using the deployment descriptor, which is web.xml file. So for that, what you guys need to do is go to web page and say new and standard deployment descriptor. And those who do not find it, or who could not find it, right? So if you're not able to find it, go to others, type web dot, and you can see when you type web.xml, you get, even I have not typed XML, but I'm still getting standard deployment descriptor. So I'll click on this and say finish. So it's going to be in web.inf folder. Always remember, I just saw a student asking me that, sir, I got a question, right? So I could not answer the question. Where does the standard deployment descriptor reside within the folder? So it resides in web.inf folder, right? Okay. Now we have web.xml file here, so no need to have the session configuration. So this is the opening of web.xml and this is the closing with all the library inclusions and tag libraries inclusion. So this is implicitly there. You don't have to read and worry about these tags anymore. Alright, so if I want, for example, we know that even if I don't type index.jsp right here, okay, so because index.jsp is the file that is going to be automatically included. Index is something that is automatically read whenever I load any website. For example, you load any website, facebook.com. Do you write facebook.com/index.jsp? No, or index.php, because that's developed using PHP. No, we do not write that, right? So it's crystal clear, we do not write dot extensions, right? And we do not write the name of the file when it comes to loading anything from the root folder, right? We do not write it. But how is it possible? If I change the name of index.jsp to let's say about main page.jsp, right? So will your JSP, will your Apache be able to find it? Still no. 404, that the page has not been found, page is not found, right? So but still, if you insist to load main page.jsp at the start, what you do for that, I create, if you want to load it without creating any external things or without writing anything in the deployment descriptor, which is web.xml file, what you can type index.jsp, and index.jsp is something that's going to be preloaded, or that's going to be automatically loaded when you load the site or whenever you call the website. So in case if you do not want to do that, so what you can do is create a welcome file list. So this is a welcome file list right here, and what I do in this welcome file list, I call this welcome file, and the welcome file is going to be the first file that is meant to be loaded, which is main page.jsp, isn't it? So I will say main page.jsp. Now let us save and refresh again without writing the name of the file here and see whether we are able to load it. Yes, exactly, right? So welcome file list is a tag that we use inside a deployment descriptor just to take or just to define the file that's meant to be loaded when the page or when the website has been started, right? Or we want to load something at the start of the website. Okay, that's number one. Number second, the main question is, so let me mark this for you inside the file. Maybe the file is ready. I'll be able to give you the first file today, right? So please download the file, and I'll keep the link in the comment section, and you can download, right, directly, and the link you can find in the comment section. So, right, so what is the definition here? In case, right, any file other than index.jsp that is meant to be loaded, right, that's meant to be, just a moment, I'll style it somewhere else, at the start or a default file to welcome, or we can say the home page file, right? So it can be anything, whatever you want to say is one and the same thing. And second was the main topic, SEO friendly URLs in JSP. Now, how do you create SEO friendly URLs in JSP? Now let's say about, I don't want to type .jsp, I want to type only home. All right, so in case of that, what do? Do you have any answer for that? Okay, please tell me what. Okay, now what I do right here, since I know that my JSP page is meant to be converted or is to be converted back to Servlet, right? So it will be converted back to Servlet. So I will use Servlet tag, right? And after using the Servlet tag, right, what I will do right here, okay, so I will say right here, so I will say JSP file. Just a moment. Okay, wait for a second. Okay, let's start again. So user friendly or SEO friendly URLs. For that we will create a file, and for that we will create these tags. So I have created a servlet tag where I have defined my JSP file, which is main page.jsp, and I'll give it a name. So I'll say servlet name, and let us give it a name. Let's say I call this as home page. So this will be internal deployer known secret. It's not going to be exposed to anyone, right? So then I will create servlet mapping. So I have to map a particular URL with this. So in servlet mapping, I will call the servlet. Please tell me which servlet to call. I just created this home page right here, and I will say the URL pattern. So whenever anyone types the URL pattern, which is /home, right? So anyone who types /home will call the servlet home page, which actually does not have a servlet directly, but a page which is a JSP main.jsp. You can do it to all the pages. Now if I go and I type home here, you can see the page is loaded, or I can directly say load home, right? And now if I say directly load home, you can see that home page is directly loaded without me even typing home. Or let's say about I'm having another file right here instead of main page. So let's say I have another JSP, and let's call this contact, contact.jsp. Alright, so we have this contact.jsp. So contact page. Let me write contact page here. Now if I want to load this file directly, right, and not directly, basically by typing a user friendly or an SEO friendly URL, so I'll copy this right here, or let me not copy this. So I want you to learn everything, so I'll write it down for you. So I will say servlet mapping, and after writing servlet mapping, and I'll write before servlet mapping, I will write servlet tags. So I require to write two tags. One, the servlet tag, another the servlet mapping, and I have to give this servlet a name. So let me give this a name. So any name, it's a variable name, so I'll say CP, whatever you want, but unless you understand what you are writing, it has to be a fully qualified name. So I will say contact page, and it does not have a servlet, instead it has a JSP page, which in our case is /contact.jsp, which is here. C is capital. Alright, now we know that we have defined a servlet and we have given the servlet a name as contact page, and it is going to fire on this contact.jsp. But let me have a URL pattern defined. And what are you defining this URL pattern for? I am defining this URL pattern for contact page. And what is the exact URL pattern you want? Alright, so the exact URL pattern I want is, let me show you, okay, we don't have to use slash here, we have to use slash in URL pattern. So I want to say contact us. So whenever I type contact us, I will get this file right here. So let's say contact us not found. So okay, it is C is capital, so it's perhaps case sensitive here. Yeah, contact page. I hope it's clear for you guys that how we use SEO friendly or user friendly URLs, right? So, and I hope you're enjoying the class. Okay, if you want any change in the delivery, please let me know in the comment section. I'll be grateful, and your feedback will be highly appreciated in case you require any change in the delivery process. All right, okay, let me define these SEO friendly URLs. Okay, so let me copy and make a file for you. I'll just make a file for you, and I'll make sure that I upload it before you watch this video. Alright, so I repeat, the download or the URL of the file will be available in the comments section. So you all are requested to download it and go through the file 2-3 times, maybe 4 times, and practice very hard and become familiar with all the technology that we are going to use, because we just started using this technology right here. Okay, what is this known as? This and this. Why am I showing you these things so deeply? Because my job is not only to teach you but to prepare you for your interviews, right? And I know what they'll ask, right? So I'm going to prepare you for that, because I'm not going to take another session for interview preparations, right? So that's why it's known as internal deployer secret, because no one knows what you have typed here. What you are doing here, the client knows that you are typing contact us, and no one knows what is happening internally. That's why it's the deployer known, or the developer known, you can say, internal secret name, right? So I'll write it down here, deployer known internal secret name. And what is this? This is the actual file name, right? So it can take 3 names, and this is the client known URL. That's it, right? So mapping can have 3 names: actual file name, a client known URL, because the client knows this URL only, and the actual file name, which is contact.jsp, and the internal deployer secret name. So I'll be making a PDF file of all this and uploading it. Please find it in the comment section, like and comment if you want to comment and ask anything, but do not forget to comment the answer for the question that I have asked to you. What is the session session associated with? I shall be grateful, and I shall be waiting for your comments, right? Bye bye, take care, see you.